care what people say, they don't know me anyway. Angels come forth by the gates of world control. No chain can bind my soul. Angels rejoice. All of us crawling through ashes of love. If fear were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The trees would bow down and be grateful, so thankful. Well, I don't care what people say, they don't own me anyway. Angels come forth, the hammers ring on bells on high, for the clock that turns the sky. Angels rejoice, and all of us crawling for rations of love. If fear were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The trees would bow down.
Hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Ezra Vansel here for a studio camp out. I'm just going to check here to make sure people are going. And there is some chats coming in. And y'all, I get distracted if I try to get on the chat, but I do look at them afterwards, and I just really appreciate y'all. In fact, this is the last day of the camp out, and we're going to talk about through the book. I'm going to read some poetry stuff about the courage to live. But first, I wanted to show, my wife sent me this little meme. I just thought it real apropos for this little camp out. I don't know if y'all can read that. It's got a little dragon on a panda. I don't know what this is from, but it says, "Which is more important?" asked the big panda. "The journey or the destination?" "The company," said the tiny dragon. And it is the company. I just really have enjoyed y'all. Y'all have made this something. Oh, I got to make sure put myself back on the video. My friends in the back end. So this is if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, this is a private event where I'm sharing my double album with people that signed up, and also videos. Today we did a special event video, and then this hangout is a part of it, just to say hi to everybody and to read a little bit from my book and play a song around the campfire. And my friends in the back, y'all have just made this so pleasant and such a neat kind of camp out. I was trying to think of a word, but I was like, it feels kind of like a camp out because there's just been conversation. I kind of have to go back and look at it. And my wife tells me everything. And she's probably in there. If you have a question or something, she can answer it or text me or something, and maybe I'll get it while I'm rolling live. But first, before we get into the book and the music and the stories, I wanted to just kind of tell people that this is the last day of the camp out. We've been doing this for 10 days, and I wasn't sad about it yesterday. I'll tell you what, I was exhausted yesterday. I barely held myself together to do it, but I got out here and sat down. And that's what happens is with things that are kind of difficult to do, with energy, and I have to pull myself out of my head, or my ass, what is it? My head out of my ass. It's hard to get myself to do it, but once I start doing it, I just feel good about it. And so thank y'all for coming along on this journey. I got the albums, there's vinyl, there's CDs, there's books, there's t-shirt, and I did 100 custom art prints of art that was done for this. There's actually 7 art pieces that I drew for this whole thing, and I'm going to print all of them one at a time. I'm going to do 100 of them, sign them, number them, and so 2 of those are out, and so that's in your camp out portal. And in fact, let me make sure it's there. Yeah. At the top in your menu, there's a campfire shop. And in there is like exclusive discounts just for people that were campers. And I'll eventually roll it out to all my subscribers. And then after that, then I'll go live with it on my site. But right now, it's just for you. It's right there. It's a private page inside of the campout portal. You also got an email with that same link. And it's got a little bit of everything for every budget. If you just want to grab the CDs or the book and the CDs, it's got several things that I'm selling in there for, like, I don't know how much off, but a lot off. And so that's kind of the business. This will be the last night. And today you should have the entire album, all 20 songs in your album folder. And I shared with you Angels Come Forth. And I have to shout out to Paco Estrada, who's on the album. He's on 2 songs. He's on that one. And he's also on Summer Tan. And this guy, if you don't know who that is, look him up. He's a wonderful songwriter, musician, working musician, and songwriter. He's been in some great bands like South FM, but he's got his own solo thing, which is where I came in to love his music. And I was just so happy that he came and worked on my album with me. And I really was going to have him on the campout, and it's completely my fault. I was going to have a few of the featured people, and I just couldn't get it all together. And so we'll do something with Paco when I release a video and start releasing that song on streaming. But just a big shout out to him. And then Cozy, of course, my daughter, is on the other song that I dropped, which is It's Only a Mountain. And she sings on that one. And again, a big thank you to her. She was on the first night, but I came out to the woods. That was back in the city. And so she's still in the city working. And so that's what we're going to kind of talk about today. And I thought I would just keep doing the book kind of guides the itinerary for the night. And I wanted to I've got a lot of nature love in this book because I love being in the woods. I love the ocean too. It's kind of like a toss up. I love the beach and I love the forests. And I go to actually Colorado pretty often. I'm not a big mountain person. They make me feel real tiny. I feel kind of claustrophobic in Colorado. But you're asking, doesn't the woods make you feel that way? I don't know, because the mountains don't seem alive to me. The forest around me seems like it's alive and friendly. When I first got here, though, to this forest where we live in a cabin, it was not friendly at all. It looked like it wanted to eat us. It's just this dark. It gets so dark out here. There's no lights. So when it gets dark, it gets dark. And it just seemed like it was angry that we're here. That's a weird, like, I don't know how I came to that feeling, but it was a true feeling. I thought the forest didn't like us. But now I go out day or night and it's like, hey, Ezra, how you doing? Tweet, tweet, tweet. And so I've kind of built like this relationship with the forest. And when you live inside of nature, I've always loved nature. I usually would go to it. I like going to lakes and stuff like that. There's always somewhere near to go to, but I never observed it long enough just to see the life that's going on, that it is not just the tree is alive, not just the bird, the forest is alive, and it's all changing like we are. It's going through seasons and there's different things going on. There's different parties going on. The first year we were here, we were taking a walk in the evening and the sun was going down. And so it's kind of dark. And then my wife was looking at something on the ground and she goes, look, it's a frog. And my daughter was with us and goes, look, there's a baby frog riding on its back. And then we looked around and it was like a plague of frogs. The entire road was covered with frogs, with little baby frogs on their back. And so it's more like a Roman frog orgy that was going on. And that goes on sometimes here too. So there's all these different things happening in the forest. And I just love it. And a lot of it came out through the album. Now that I think about it, I should have coupled, 2 songs a day. I should have coupled like the nature songs and the marriage songs. I kind of just threw stuff out there because today we've got 2 very different kind of things going on. I released to you the spoken word video for I Am a Cabin. And so I want to read some stuff that kind of was written about nature with inspired by these woods here. And then we're going to creep into the back of the book and kind of read a few things from the songs that dropped today. All right, this one is the first poem in the book, and I would say it's probably my favorite poem. Although I don't know if it's the best. I don't know. I read poetry. I've loved poetry my whole life, but I'm no expert in poetry. So if you're like, dude, that's not rhyming enough, or it's rhyming too much, or whatever, I don't know. I just enjoy writing it. I did kind of learn the forms of poetry, and I talked about that on the first day, so I'm not going to talk about it again. When writing this, I tried to get it like a greater appreciation for it. But this poem was one of the first ones that I wrote during this era. It's called Gather the Wood. Gather the wood before you start the fire. Divide the hewn branches size by size. Prepare for a flame that will never tire, lest in the night the warm blaze dies. Divide the hewn branches size by size, a bundle of wood at hand in the dark. Lest in the night the warm blaze dies, a woodsman needs but one new spark. A bundle of wood at hand in the dark, kindle a branch, the logs become coal. A woodsman needs but one new spark to set a long night in a tireless glow. Kindle the branch, the logs become coal. Some leaves must revive the hot ash bed to set this long night in a tireless glow and dream by fluorescent ember red. Some leaves must revive the hot ash bed when he wakes to the deep chilling wind, then dreams by fluorescent embers red. With so little effort he must tend his fire. When he wakes to the deep chilling wind, one generous log is flung on the cinder. With so little effort he must tend his fire. For this one thing he did remember. Gather the wood before you start the fire. A woodsman needs but one new spark. Prepare for a flame that will never tire, with a bundle of wood at hand in the dark. What I love about poetry and music, sometimes it's pretty rare that I do like interviews, but I do them when I release albums. And they always, it's always asked, what's the song about? And I don't like answering that question because I usually do answer it, but I don't know what it's about most of the time. There's some of them that are pretty obvious, like Dewey and Mama is definitely about my life story. But I would say the greater percentage of them, even if they seem to be about something, I don't really know. I just know what was going on in my life. And I don't like defining them. I remember listening to the radio once, and there was an interview with, it was probably, it wasn't Page, maybe it's Plant, or somebody from Led Zeppelin. And, everybody loves Stairway to Heaven, but, I have my own like epic history with Stairway to Heaven from a child. And when he was explaining what it was about, it completely ruined it for me because I was like, no, that's not what it's about. And I remember also I fell in love with this classical, I guess it's an operatic piece called Camellia Brana, I think is what it is, when I was young. I would listen to it all the time. You see it in a lot of horror films. It's the one that's like, oh, oh, da, da, boom, boom, bum, 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 bum. So anyways, I would just sit and listen to this thing. I think I even had it on vinyl and listen to this and go off into these grand, cosmic stories of wars and battles of love and queens and kings and all this. And I got to go see it live once, and they had a thing with the lyrics on it in English. And I was reading it, and it's just about some dude trying to lay a girl. That's what I remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Now, I was a teenager when I went to this opera, so I don't know if I took it all in, all the deep implications of the song, but that's what it seemed like to me when I was reading it, and it really just ruined it. In fact, I've never listened to it since. And so, I like to leave stories in the songs and in the poems, but I do like to talk about stories that it makes me think of, just like if I'm hearing it for the first time. I'm going to go ahead and read the one tonight. Hopefully you saw the I Am a Cabin video that I made for this event before this. And I'm going to go ahead and read that one and talk about that one a little bit. It's called I Am a Cabin. I am a cabin in the woods, Down a long, shaded dirt road, some drive it, it's better to walk slowly along the waning fence and pick plums from my orchard untamed, or dewberries as you wander my way. I am alone. I like it that way, and sometimes lost in these woods. I am, they say, untamed. Some will find this hidden road, though few this way walk. Fewer still cross that quiet fence. I did not build the fence. Already it stood that way, bent and crooked for a walk through the huddled, misty woods. Those who know me know the road. Beside it, wild grapes untamed. I prefer the grapes untamed. Some would cut them from their fence. Vines tangling, falling on the road. It's not the civilized way. But the civilized can barely walk, and indeed not into the woods. I am a cabin in those woods, grass cut, with trees untamed. A passing doe out for a walk. She hopped that bending fence. Somehow she knows the way to my wild grapes along the road. Those who know me love the road and find wild plums in my woods. Some know the way and care not I am untamed. Eat the berries on the fence and know which way to walk. But just in case you forgot, take a right at the splitting road, then follow the waning fence through the untamed goods and on down the way to a cabin in the woods. This one, I wrote it about my cabin, which you see in the video. A cabin we've been working on for many years, and I've come to believe that my cabin is alive too. She goes through all kinds of different moods. Sometimes smelly moods, sometimes just lovely moods. Sometimes she just feels very lonely, and sometimes she's happy to see me. And this when I read this now, I don't know, what I was thinking when I wrote it, but it makes me think of me and of my heart, and just not just me, but everybody, and what a precarious kind of situation we are in as humans. Because even with my wife, who knows me, there is no one else on this earth that knows me better than my wife. And even though she knows me, she can't fully know me. And if you get down to it, I can't even really know myself. And so we're kind of in a place where we're always trying to communicate to each other how we feel. And one thing that I did not, I don't know if I was a narcissist or what when I was young. I can say all I thought about was music. I just never stopped thinking about it. And if anything got in the way of it, I got very disturbed. But I do know as I've gotten older that when I interact with somebody, no matter who they are, where they're, in a position way above me or below me in, this world's positions, I like to think that there is a whole universe in there that I don't know, and that what they're saying to me is the way that they can communicate right now. So I don't. It's in a way I don't want to take myself too serious, because I can. There's a poem in here where it says, "What I'm trying to say would be best said if I said nothing at all," because I know that I cannot communicate what's in me, because a lot of times I don't even understand what's in me. And I spend a lot of time trying to delve into the inner workings of my own life and my own heart, and not just for art and poetry, but to try to fix my shit, to try to figure out what's going on, why I do the things that I do, and why is there a way I can do it differently? Is there something in me that causes this? And I've learned probably the best little guideline for myself is just not to take myself too seriously, and not to take too seriously what others say either. And I don't mean that in a way of like deprecating or pandering to other people, but not pandering. What's the word? I can't remember the word, but you know what I mean. Not in a bad way, but in a way of allowing space for them to communicate, to come back and reiterate what they communicated, and take it on face value, and just allow kind of this grace between people, because I understand how hard it is in my life to not only understand myself, but to speak and to communicate the many fears in my life, the many things that rule me. I know that that's going on in everybody that I meet. So I try to keep that in mind now when I meet people, because I am like a cabin in the woods, and we all are. It's like, unless somebody knows the way, and few people know the way into the woods and down that road by the what is it? The untamed goods. They're very untamed in my heart. And if they can get past all that and they know the way, they can find me there. And there's few people that do. And I think that's kind of the norm. I think only few people really get to know us very well. And that's what that one kind of brings out to me. I'm going to read one. We're going to stick in the nature zone here. Got quite a few in here. So I was like bookmarking all these ones. And I was like, well, we can't do that. It'd be like a 2-hour hangout. My batteries will die. Okay. This one is about an old oak tree. I can't show it to you, but I can point to where it was. It was a beautiful, if you see these gnarled old oak trees, I don't know how old this thing was, but man, looked like it'd been there for hundreds of years. Huge. It just loomed over next to our cabin, but thank goodness not over our cabin. And we call it Snowmageddon in Texas. We had a big freeze here that was like the coldest it'd been in 100 years. And we lost 2 oak trees during that time. Actually, all around my area here, oak trees went down. And it was so sad to see this one die and to watch it die slowly. And I have a little story about this too. So I'm going to read it, and then I'll read you my little story about the oak tree. Gnarled warts under the pine, the old oak's twisted spine, spurts forced for sunlight glow, aiming high, looming low, splitting thrice, skin coarse, awkward bulk, built on force, old and bent, lumbering arms, beautifully rent, tangled charm. The old oak, strong, mighty, under the pine, fell on Friday. The men called it a widow maker. Let me start that again. The men called it a widow maker. A twisted oak tree, gnarled and dying, hung over the entrance to our cabin. We'd lost another oak a few years earlier during the Texas Snowmageddon. I hate to see this one go. One tree guy couldn't get up the hill with a truck. The other said it was too dangerous for him. So we were stuck with it for years. It began falling on its own, though, one limb at a time. I was fascinated watching it slowly let itself go. It let the small limbs go first. We gathered them for kindling. I imagine she did this in hopes of saving the large limbs that she had put so much energy and time into growing. But soon the large ones began to drop. The oak fell on Friday. When the reaper, our tree guy, came for the old oak, there was not much left of her to bring down, so she came down easy. I hope I leave this way, dropping pieces of myself, the mangled limbs of this mortal life, one at a time, so when I fall, the fall is not so great. I hope you are doing well tonight. Randy was asking before I went live if I grew up on this land. Parents were gospel singers, and we just moved and moved and moved and moved and moved. I have no like real memories of like school and teachers and all that kind of stuff, because we would just keep moving places. The count is around in the 30s by the time I was like 14. And so, but that said, we stuck around small towns. We lived in East Texas. We lived in the Panhandle, West Texas, Lubbock, and we were always near some land. And so to come back to the land, especially East Texas, because when I was a kid, it was probably my favorite nature that we were in, with tall trees. But to come back to it was like this, like a refreshing moment for like a drink of something I didn't know that I needed, that I was thirsty for. And I really was just thirsty to get not only on the land, but into small town. And I just fit better here. I'm just a little quirky, too quirky for the Dallas people. So, and I love my Dallas people. I'm not saying that, but I just always felt a little bit not a part of things. And I feel a part of things here. But that actually reminds me of a story too. I'll tell before this one. It's my wife's favorite story. She tells this one quite often. But so this man was leaving one town. He was heading off to this other town that was down the way, a couple of hills over. And as he was heading there with his little satchel, he passed an old man leaning up against a tree. And he said, "Hey, old man, what's that town like down the way?" And the old man said, "Well, what's the town like where you came from?" He said, "Oh, it's horrible. Everybody's just stuck up. You know, they just all think they're better than you, rude, traffic, you know, just no fun. I didn't like it." And he goes, "Yeah, the town down the way is the same way." And much later, another man came up that hill again. He saw that old man sitting by the tree. And he said, "Hey, old man, what's that town like down the way?" He goes, "Well, what's the one like where you came from?" He goes, "It was a great town. I really enjoyed it. You know, people are people, and we had all kinds there, and I just enjoyed that town." And he goes, "Well, so's the one down the way." And I like to remember that because um, I don't want to talk about other people, but quite a few people told me when I was moving, because I was in the city, that when I was moving out here, that I was insane. And I think they're completely wrong. Um, I'm going to read another one about nature. Let's just keep going on the nature thing. I'm going to check in here, make sure we're all okay. Everybody okay? There's Leslie. I'm going to give you a little happy face. Wish I could jump in there. This one, and I mentioned this the other day, when we did first move here, we were tearing up the cabin that we were living in, and so I had taken the floor out down to the dirt because it was all soggy, and we had to refloor the whole thing. And there was no running water inside for a while. I eventually got some PEX in there and got a little bit of water in there in the bathtub, but there's nowhere to cook, so we cooked out on a fire. And this was just I wish we could just have stayed like that. Now my wife feels differently. She actually wants a kitchen and a stove, but I was perfectly happy to go take a bath in the water hose and cook out over the fire. See why I don't fit in Dallas too well. They don't like you taking baths in water hose out in the front yard. This is a poem I wrote about those times. It's called Morning's Blessing. Morning's blessing is to love. The birds salute, the dogs at play, the view from over my coffee mug. A dove frozen still, a statue of nature's ancient promise to obey. Morning's blessing is to love. Slight wind gives the oak a shove. One leaf falls on summer's grave. The view from over my coffee mug. The choir of cicadas sang enough. Now they hum, quietly pray. Morning's blessing is to love. Cotton twisting clouds above. Rays burst through their braid. The view from over my coffee mug. Hands around my chest, they hug. So close my heart no longer afraid. This morning's blessing is to love. The view from over my coffee mug. Oh, that brought some warm feelings. Let me see. I got to do another one that brings me some warm feelings. About love. During this time, when I say this time, it's really about 5 years. I was making the album. If y'all know my daughter's band that I'm in called Cozy and a Flounder, I was working on that. I finished my trilogy of albums, which is I was working here on We Were Wild. And then towards the end of that time, I started working on Mornings and Midnights. And so that's the era I'm talking about. And it was such a, you have like these seasons of life. And we moved into a new season when we moved here. And it was the season of the kids getting married and growing up. And now it's the season of grandkid with my son. And It's the season of empty nest. It was the season of my wife's father passing. Um, and so much of our relationship was previous to this. It was like we had the divorce year and it was a rebuilding phase, and it was beautiful. It was like we're dating again halfway through our marriage. For the half of the marriage, crashed into a divorce, and then we got back together, and then we spent so much more time actually just kind of dating again. It felt like we were just falling in love. And then when we got here, it felt like it was time for us to grow up, and we had to start talking about money, and we had to start doing stuff that couples do. And I just fell in love with my wife all over again. There's so many times to fall in love. Oh, is there somebody? I heard somebody on my land. Let me go get my gun. No, I'm just kidding. um, it's what's neat about enduring love and shooting for the long haul with your marriage is there's gonna be, just like these seasons change, there's gonna be times where you're like, oh gosh, this is horrible, and then it's gonna awaken and it'll be spring. And it's just, this was one of those times. I just want to read that. I kind of went on too long about that. Blessed be the birds. One sonnet for my love and confidant, like birds echoing in the dense forest, my clamoring mind, when so missing you, I think of not much and every want. Ponder the past glass hearts, most dangerous, a former tale before our wooded view. Beautiful wreckage shattered the chorus, a thousand forests. Oh my goodness. I'm going to read this again. Do y'all mind? You're okay with it? Cool. One sonnet for my love and confidant, like birds echoing in the dense forest, my clamoring mind, when so missing you, I think of not much and every want. Ponder the past glassed hearts, most dangerous, a former tale before our wooded view. Beautiful wreckage shattered the chorus, a thousand forest birds flung ignorant. In song for chants of love and her vastness, they sung, love me now, let us die if not. Just two wings are a world to one heart true. The lucky bird found, eternally sought, and blessed are the birds to this wood flew. There we go. I had to read that one again because I didn't want to screw it up. I miss my wife. So just because of life, she has to go to town sometimes. And so I had her for a little while in this camp out. Y'all might have saw her, like, was that day 4? And so I've been, there's one thing about being out in the woods with your wife, and my daughter actually has a cabin here, but a man just being out here alone. Yeah, I actually ran out of clothes and I had to break into my merch. And so this is an Ezra Vansel shirt. So we have one less large. So if you need a large, you better order one. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the songs that we had for tonight and kind of touch on those. One of the songs is called It's Only a Mountain. And the funny thing about this song is it was thrown away. Sometimes I get up, I just did this a couple of weeks ago, and I just write a song real fast. I record it, write down the lyrics, and then just forget it exists. And this is one of those songs, usually because I don't think it's that great. And I'm kind of like, well, that's a good exercise. And this song is what I thought of that. And I recorded it. I was like, meh. And I actually videoed it to record it. And then I was going through my phone and I saw it and I started crying. So I was like, well, maybe that is good. It's called It's Only a Mountain. I'm going to read the lyrics to it. And then I'm going to read a little bit that I wrote about this song. It's only a mountain that we're climbing from the day your feet touch the ground, and all them angels flying around can't conceive where we are bound. You'll conquer a valley, laugh on a hill, then you see the signs that say no way back, and none of your brothers, none of your armies can be the feet walking in your tracks. It's only a mountain that we're climbing to find the highest place for love. None of them angels flying around can see for you the face of love. For each alone must climb over the mountain that's been assigned them by the king of this mountain town. And the weight that you carry is much too heavy. In the end, we all just put it down. You'll feel like you're falling, and every slip, that that's when love's calling, when we lose our grip. It's only a mountain that we're climbing to find the highest place for love. And all of your angels and all of their armies can't see for you the face of love. For each alone must find what's over the mountain that you've been climbing since the day your feet touched the ground. I wrote this for someone facing a midlife crisis of sorts and dealing with some things that I too went through. At some point, the evidence of decades is in, and that evidence often reveals uncomfortable truths. We tend to look outside ourselves, blaming others for how our lives turned out. That approach only gets us partway up the mountain. Eventually, we must face the person who was, for better or worse, placed in charge of our life, ourselves. This is the moment. This is the moment when everything either changes or becomes further entrenched. And it all comes down to whether we're willing to accept responsibility for our failings. Only then can true change begin. Because if it really is someone else's fault, we're stuck waiting for them, the ones who caused the. Exactly, can someone else fix you? Um, what can I say about that? I think that says it just fine. I think there's um, a part in my own life that wanted my life to be somebody else's fault, that wanted my failings to be someone else's fault. And for sure, people played into it, you know, but I wanted the whole fault. I didn't even want what was my fault. I wanted that to be your fault too. And one thing I did it visually when I got sober and I started trying to change my life. Something I did visually all the time, which was I pictured in my mind that there's strings coming out the back of my head, and on those strings are thousands of little hooks. And on those hooks are all these people that had done me wrong. And every once in a while, I'd run into one of these people, and it would, they'd get me irritated or angry or hurt. And I would picture that they're tugging on that hook and it's pulling my head. And so I'd say to myself, Ezra, let him off the hook. And so I would do that. And then I could just be with that person, And of course, I went and tried to fix what I could, but sometimes you can't fix it, and you have to do what you can to fix your part of it. And after that, you got to let it go. This one from Angels Come Forth. So this was the other song, the one with Paco on it. I'm going to check real quick. All right. Looks like we're still going. Okay. This is the second song that I gave y'all today, which completed the entire double album, 20 songs. And I'm going to go ahead and read some of the lyrics. It kind of repeats itself, so I'm not going to do that. But I don't care what people say. They don't know me anyway. Angels come forth. Bind the gates of world control. No chain can bind my soul. Angels rejoice. All of us crawling for rations of love. If fear were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The trees would bow down and be grateful, so thankful. I don't care what people say. They don't own me anyway. Angels come forth. Hammers ring the bells on high for the clock that turns the sky. Angels rejoice. I'm going to read what came with it here. Since it's our last night, it's about 40 minutes in, but I'm going to go a little bit longer. I'm not sure what the song Angels Come Forth means, but I know the feeling I get from it. See, I was just telling you that. Especially when Paco steps in on the chorus. It tells me to have the courage to speak. Speak with courage. Hold silent with wisdom. How do I know when to speak and when to hold my tongue? A friend told me recently that she decided to quit offering her opinion as a life practice, and she was shocked at how little anyone asked for it. She laughed and said, "Actually, I realized no one was asking for it ever, but that hadn't stopped her from constantly sharing it. But they needed to hear what I'm thinking. There are times I wish I had spoken up and times I wish I had said nothing. Another friend likes to remind me of an old aphorism. I've never gotten in trouble for something I didn't say, but I have. Well, maybe not trouble in the traditional sense, but my soul was bothered, and that's trouble. Then there's the whole issue of thought versus love. I want to speak in love, but sometimes what I have to say doesn't feel soft and cuddly like our idea of love. I heard someone say recently, love doesn't have to approve. That's true. Just have some kids and it'll become clear. Maybe I'm overcomplicating things. Maybe it's simpler than that. Just be willing to be vulnerable. If you feel the need to say something, say it. If you don't, say nothing. And if you're wrong, accept that you're wrong sometimes. If it comes out stupid, accept that you're stupid sometimes. If it hurts someone, accept that your words can and do hurt people sometimes. I can't always be loving in my speech. Half the time, I'm not even sure of my own motives. But I know this much. I spent a lifetime made sick by not being myself, saying what I thought others wanted or needed to hear. This time around, I'm taking the chance that this whole personal God thing is real, that He's in there in the temple of my heart. And if that's true, then I can try to be truthful. I can try to be vulnerable. I can try to stop protecting my sensitive little ego all the time. And if I know I'm trying to live how God would have me, then I believe I can bless what I say, whether it's wrong or right, foolish or wise, as the words of a creature of God. You know, this is what this little camp out has been for me. I had a friend. Well, he's more of a mentor. I was paying him, so I can't call him a friend. He became a friend, but he was mentoring me in some business stuff. But one of the things he said was that your fear is your compass. And so if you've got a compass, your fear is usually going to go point the opposite way of where you should go. It's going to say, hey, don't go that way, go this way. And so whatever it's telling me to do, to run away, to not do this, to not make an album, not talk, not tell my stories, it's actually a compass for me to do that exact thing. And I remember he had a thing he did where he had like a list where you have like your 5 fears and then you try to confront them in some way in real life. And so I went away and I wrote them down and I came back and they were snakes. I'm afraid of snakes. Coyotes. There's coyotes out here. I'm afraid of coyotes. I think I had bears on there. I have an awful fear of bear and sharks. But he was like, dude, those are all legitimate fears. Why don't you keep those? And I came back with another list. And, you know, there's all the common ones in there that, you know, people are going to find out who I am and they're not going to like me. I'm going to run out of money and be broke and live under a bridge and die sad and lonely. You know, there's all those kind of things in there. And, you know, that's one of the things of courage is not obeying my fear anymore. In fact, my fear is telling me to do it. And unless it's one of the legitimate ones, like the snake thing, you know, you gotta be wise about this stuff. Now, I actually killed a snake right over there and inside the cabin. It was almost as tall as me or as long as me, and I killed it with a garden hoe. And man, was it angry! And I felt bad after I killed it, but I didn't know what else to do. It was freaking out. The whole family was in there, and so I have faced my fears with snakes. And I got to tell one more story with it. Because you do need a pistol out here. There's coyotes. There's meandering dogs. You know, sometimes there's a pack of dogs that get out and come over. So you need one. And so one morning I was walking, and we have a field along the road that's this tall grass, probably, you know, almost as tall as my head. And I was walking. It was a beautiful morning, just thinking about stuff and music and what I was going to do for the day. And suddenly I hear and I look over and it's like a movie where the grass was parting, but there was something smaller than the grass and it was parting as it was coming for me. And so I drew my gun, and I'm sure I looked like, Mall Cop or Barney Five or something. I was ready to go. I took aim, and I was ready to, as soon as that thing came out, it was running right for me, and the grass was parting, and I was getting more and more nervous. And then this little doe, about this big, just jumped right out. Boo! Did this little jump, little happy little doe deer. And luckily I didn't shoot it, but I came that close to blowing its head off just out of fear. I'm going to finish up this reading time, and then we're going to sing a song. I'm going to sing a song with something to kind of close out, I think, the whole ever loving 10 days. And I want, to read something from here, but I also just want to say thank y'all so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate getting a chance to do this, and having people that actually conversated and listened and kept up with me was quite a joy for me. And this is something I wrote for the song Wandering, which is the first song on my album, but I think it just kind of fits here. There is no plateau, no final destination where you can kick back and say, well, I've made it. Life is a roaring river. Sometimes we hit a calm stretch and think we've arrived, but the next bend is always coming, guaranteed. So how do you live with moving targets, loose ends, winding roads, and U-turns? You wander. Accept the reality of life. We are called to wander. So wander curiously. Wander through your morning to lunch. Wander over the years towards your heart's desire. And when you find it, pitch a tent, make a fire, and stay a while. Then start packing, because you know you can't stay anywhere for long. Let this be your expectation. I expect to wander and find the way each day. Expect that you are led. Live as if you decided your next step, but know the road ahead is already laid before you. If the feeling is dark, know you've wandered into the forest. Keep walking. The sun will break through the trees soon enough. If the feeling is bright, realize you are moving, whether you perceive it or not, toward the next bend. So let the sun warm your face. Close your eyes and say, thank you for this glow. Let your heart be content that our time is brief. You're not meant to learn everything. You're not meant to finish everything. You're here to visit. So don't spend it locked in your hotel room. See the sights of your life and leave us a postcard to remember your wanderings. And I wrote that for myself, to remember how to live life. I'm going to play y'all a song. Let me check one time okay. And campfire singing is kind of tough, because you're talking, inhaling a lot of smoke. And I have found that I have been pretty dang dry trying to sing at the end of these things. Well, I don't care what people say, they don't know me anyway. Angels come forth behind the gates of your control. No chains can bind my soul. Angels rejoice. All of us crawling for rations of love. If you were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The trees would bow down and be grateful, so thankful. Well, I don't care what people say, they don't own me anyway. Angels come forth, hammers ring, the bells on high, for the clock that turns the sky. Angels rejoice, and all of us cry vibrations of love. If you were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The trees would bow down and be grateful, so thankful. Sing, holy, holy, you might control me. Your world may break us down. One of the drugs, you're riding big guns. You might destroy me. This love will lift us up. The love that lights the sun. Suddenly the mountains will cry out with hallelujah. The trees will bow down and be grateful, so thankful. I don't care what people say. I don't care what people say. All right. Good night, guys. Day 10, it's over. I've got an idea to come back and do some more live stuff since I've broken ground. And so I'll let y'all know. Make sure you check out the Campfire Shop in your email. Mornings and Midnight, the double album, is out for you. And it's in your email or it's in the portal for the campout. And you can click in there and there's some big deals in there. And so y'all have a wonderful night. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, I don't care what people say, they don't know me anyway. Angels come forth by the gates of world control. No chain can bind my soul. Angels rejoice. All of us crawling through rations of love. If you were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The trees would bow down and be grateful, so thankful. Well, I don't care what people say, they don't own me anyway. Clock that turns the sky, angels rejoice. And all of us crawling for rations of love. If you were to silence the faithful, suddenly the mountains would cry out with hallelujah. The tree